Hello guys. Hello. Jack, thank you for redeeming first. Welcome on in. Let me make sure everything here is working. Welcome back to another episode of Bounty Acquired, my VTuber talk show where we talk to VTubers in a very, very relaxed way. This week we're joined by Miss Lala. Welcome on in, Lala. I appreciate you stopping by.
Hi. Of
Um,
course. Thank you so much for having me.
yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before in our call, it was kind of a shot in the dark to approach you. It's always so intimidating as someone who has a talk show about VTubers to reach out to VTubers that I appreciate their content and stuff like that. It's like how how big do I go? There's some people I've had on before. A lot of people were my friends, but like
Mhm.
recently I've started to branch out to people I don't know more. As we mentioned, last month we had Renton, and we
Mhm.
had such a wonderful conversation together, and now yeah, here you are. But
Yeah.
before we
Oh
get
my
into
god.
it, do you want to like just introduce yourself and
Oh my god. Oh, sure, sure,
tell the people who you are?
sure. Uh, yes. Oh, hi everybody. My name is Miss Lala. I'm a 1950s diner waitress VTuber serving up fun in the 21st century. And yeah, you can find me on Twitch. My diner doors are usually open Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. So come on in for like a bite to eat, and also for a little bit of chaos. That's usually what we end up serving as a daily special. But yeah. So yeah. So that's a little bit about me. That's like my pitch line.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
if I was a Barbie doll, that'd be like plastered on my box.
You always have to have something, you know?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Actually, I forgot to mention, Rainey is also not only she's a gal pal of mine, but we're actually model siblings. We have the same
Yes,
model papa
yes.
for our 3D
She did
model.
mention that.
So,
I was so excited because obviously I didn't tell my audience, my community at the time, but
mhm.
while we were wrapping up Rainey's episode, I was actually like, oh, it's funny you mentioned Lala because she's like next month's guest. And she was like, no way, like we're siblings, and that's awesome. So I mean, the first striking thing we can talk about is like you are our first 3D guest. You have the ability to to rotate into the third dimension.
I know, it's so nice. Look at me. Look. Eat your heart out, 2D. Ah,
was
and
that was
so
Yeah, go on.
honored. No, I was just gonna say I'm so honored. It's like you never forget your first. You know what I mean? So I really am so honored that you're having me on your talk show as your first 3D guest.
Of
It's fun.
course, yeah. I mean, was that like a conscious decision while getting into VTubing and content creation? Was that something you consciously thought about, the weighing the options between 2D and 3D, and what pros or cons kind of push you towards 3D?
Yeah, I definitely. So when I first started looking into VTubing, obviously I saw that for the most part it was very like 2D style space,
Yeah.
and I was totally on board for that. But then I actually saw Girl DM when
Okay.
she
Yeah.
legitimately had her 3D model, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm somebody I use my hands when I talk all the time in
Hmm.
person." And I just love the flexibility that 3D gave in terms of expression for a
Sure.
model. And at the time, because when did I discovered VTube in like 2021. And so
Okay. Yeah.
um I feel like even more so back then, like 3D models haven't weren't there wasn't as many artists that were focusing on them, so there weren't as many different styles
Hmm.
and things like that. But I was so encaptured by the way her model was done, and I was like,
Yeah.
I think if I want to do this, I want to eventually go down the route of doing 3D. And
Hmm.
also my avatar, I knew like my model that I wanted to do, I didn't want it to be a strictly anime style. I wanted it to be like a blend of
Right.
Western and Eastern animation references.
More
And I thought that
stylized, kind of.
yeah, so I thought that 3D was actually also just what would work for the style of the character I wanted to go with. So that's kind of what led to the decision of me doing like a 3D model. Hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's like, I mean, it's interesting how you mentioned the style. Like, have you thought of what Miss Lala would look like in the live 2D style? Is that something you've ever like pictured?
I have. There is one artist that I'm like madly in love with in terms of their style that I feel like would fit what I would imagine Lala as a 2D model.
Hmm.
And I reached out to them, and so we started to talk, but I don't have any immediate plans in terms of having a
Of
2D model,
course. Yeah.
but it is nice like to have that option because I have I do a lot of my friends are like 2D models, and then for
Sure.
collabs it makes it so much easier model. But I love my 3D self so much that,
Yeah.
um that in order to do that, it would definitely be like it would be an alternative model that I would use, not a permanent change if I had a 2D
Yes,
model.
of course. Yeah. Just
I'm
having
too
the option
emotionally
and the
attached to this
flexibility.
one.
Exactly.
I'm too emotionally attached to this one.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, one striking question I mean, I always wondered about was what drew you to the 1950s style? Was it a love of games or a love of that era as a whole? Um,
I specifically really love the era where women were oppressed. Specifically,
mm,
that's what really drove me. Like that just like what really got me so wild about the 1950s. Just kidding, obviously. No, I'm a huge vintage lover. Like I love vintage fashion. My style is a hybrid of
sure,
vintage style and like contemporary style. Specifically, I love the 1940s and 50s are my favorite eras of fashion specifically.
sure,
And when I was thinking of like my VTuber like design and story and things like that,
yeah,
I came up with the concept of the waitress then the time period. So I was kind of thinking about like how I wanted to go about it because I wasn't really motivated to do something that was like a big mythical fantasy kind of persona.
sure,
Not for any I just couldn't think of any, honestly. I felt like I was just lacking the great I was like, "Oh, I don't know what I would be." Something that's different that hasn't been done, but I don't know. And I kept on thinking about like Twitch as a platform.
hmm,
And you go to your streamers, you go to your favorite you have your favorites that you hang out in, the people that give you joy, like whatever you want to feel like doing. If you want
sure,
a chill vibe, if you want something that's going to make you like hurt it's going to hurt your sides cuz you're laughing so much, if you want something that is like you're watching because you want to watch their skill level, there's all kinds of different people on this platform, but you
hmm,
find the places you like to go to that really are yours, and you become a regular in those spaces because you become engaged in the conversation, you become engaged in the community.
yeah,
And I was like, wow, you go to a regular place all the time. They remember your name. You become like, you feel like it's a cozy place to go. You can pop in whenever you can, at any hour kind of thing. And I was
mm,
like, oh, that kind of reminds me of like a late night diner spot, like a late night restaurant. And so that's what kind of brought me to the idea. And I was like, oh my God. And of course, the waitress makes sense. You're just hanging around talking to people all day. And you have like people come in, they know that you're gonna be there, just like I'm from New York City, and there's a
mm,
old school diner culture here. And so, you go, you have your regulars, I have my favorite diner spot I go to, and they know everything
yeah,
about me. They're like, how's your mother? How's your brother? How's that? Didn't you have that interview? How's that going? And I think that there's something so endearing about that. And so that's what really motivated the idea behind like the diner and the character. But then
yeah,
and then I was like, oh, but it's got to have a spin. It can't just be like a 20 like a in 2024, just because
sure,
you always want like an aesthetic hook. And I was like, oh, well, it's got to be a 50s like car hop waitress. That'd be so cute. And so so I combined all those things, so it's like combining all my favorite things in terms of vintage fashion and pop culture, and combining it with um uh yeah, and then combining it with like what I think is very natural for what Twitch is as a platform in terms of
yeah,
and putting that in a blender, giving it a good little mix, and then that's what I serve up. So that's that's kind of how that concept kind of came together in terms of like including the time period and that one in
yeah.
particular. So,
That's
mm.
so interesting because I mean, like, diner culture has always been such a foreign concept for me. I grew up mostly in the UK and Ireland. Um,
Oh,
so like I
really?
recently moved like back just October. I just moved to Canada. So, um,
Ooh.
but like that whole like late night diner culture and concept is so alien to me, but I like all of my knowledge for like diners comes
Mhm,
from like movies and TV, which it almost makes it like a novel concept. But it's always
mhm.
been something, especially now that I'm here in like North America. Now I can like be like, oh, I want to go to a diner, and like, you know, people are like, why do you want to go to the diner? It's like, well, you know, it's not something we've had. So to
It's
have
very
some
Americana. It's super Americana, and also like it is of the era. Like I can go on a
yeah.
whole history rant, but I totally interrupt you. I'm so sorry.
No, no, it's okay. I was just
Me,
gonna
she's like,
say
what?
that I feel like you said, like that culture of late night diners really suits Twitch well. And I feel like it fills a nice little hole that's like, oh, like I can just be a regular at this diner. It's like almost to a sense of like role playing, but in a more community focused aspect. I think it's really it's really unique. It's really interesting, and I mean that whole setup you've had with I've seen you go through renditions of like animations for your stream intros and stuff like that. All of that stuff that is like pretty high production value for for a Twitch stream. You really put effort and time, and I'm not saying other streamers don't, but I really see your streams. um it's not just your streams, it's all of the art and all of the aspects around it kind of mishmash into like this like perfect storm of like really selling the vibe.
That's very sweet of you
It's
to
cool.
say. Thank you very much. It's very sweet. Um, yeah, that means a lot to me. Thank you. That
Of
means a lot,
course.
you know. It's me going crazy behind the scenes, staying up to like 4 in the morning, being like, "Oh, what if I get this transition just right?" Me going crazy, doing all my creative edits.
Sure.
But I mean, that means a lot to me. It really does. I do have I come into this space, with a background in entertainment, not that I was a performer myself necessarily, well, a little bit. I a little bit. I need to start uh remembering that, but I basically so outside of the diner, as I like to say, I'm a costume designer in film and television. So I've worked in
Oh,
entertainment for about
awesome.
10 years. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
have a little
I
bit.
was gonna ask about, because I think I saw you post something about like musical theater or
Mhm.
something, yeah, something about the TV and film industry. But that's a super interesting topic that I'd love for you to kind of, you know, blurb about for a bit.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and I did perform burlesque for like a couple of years
Oh,
before the
okay.
pandemic. So, I do have a background in terms of um like I love putting on a show. Like I
Yeah,
love theatricality, like I grew up, watching musicals. I grew up watching I'm a big movie lover,
sure.
especially classic movies. I really am a big fan. And all like that bombastic otherworldliness and whimsicality is just something that I adore so much. And so bringing that into the space has been really, really fun because I don't know, it feels like I'm playing. It's a lot of work, but it's like very satisfying too because we were talking about this before, we started going live, but
Hmm.
I like to, just like I do in my regular work, I have an idea for something
Yeah,
and, it'll be a concept, it'll be a sketch. And then you go through all these different processes in terms of how to bring it to life. And it could be that process can be arduous sometimes. And then it's so satisfying when it is finalized and realized and then showcased and then people are
yeah.
really receptive to it. Oh my goodness, that is so wonderful. And I
You kind
love
of
that.
live for the payoff. You live for
Yeah.
the reaction from your community, being like, "Whoa!" Like, I mean, we'll talk about this more in detail a little later on. But like your Fallout outfit debut yesterday, just seeing like all of the tiny little references and attention to detail that from like a franchise that have a decent amount of knowledge in. It's like so cool. Like the little rad roach peeking through the ceiling, like through one of the holes. I'm like, what? I'm like, rad roach. I'm typing in the chat. I'm like, oh my god. I
Yeah,
know
it
that
was.
thing.
I feel like, it's I was just thinking about this today because I want to do this like in dive, analysis, like this deep dive analysis about the costumes on the Fallout show specifically. But I was just
Mhm.
thinking about, there's something really great about being a fan of something, right? You're being
Yeah.
because you have so much passion and enthusiasm for whatever that thing is. It could be from, for me, I tend to love I love games that have really strong stories that
Of
go beyond,
course.
like, we were talking about. I love BioShock. BioShock
Yeah.
is a wonderful example. Love Fallout, love Undertale. I love just the richness that characters bring to a story and that you fall in love with
Yeah.
those characters because you end up playing those characters, main characters, whatever it is. And I think there's something really cool about being passionate about something like a video game, and then you
Mhm.
bring your own and then you bring an objectivity and an artistry to it from whatever point of view that is. Some people in this space are singers, some people are,
Mhm.
they are artists, modelers, illustrators, they are devs, they are editor, everybody has the way that they do it to pay tribute to the things that they love
Mhm.
in the space. And so thoroughly enjoyed that I've been able to do that consistently as a VTuber. And
Yeah.
whether it's nerding about like Fallout and I do this like immersive thing that has all these details because I love the game so much. I want people to notice those kinds of details. Or when
Mhm.
I do, even if I update my own background in the diner, there might be a new poster or a new plushie in the background, and people will
Sure.
point out and it's an in joke for the community, and that means I'm celebrating the community. There's so many I think it's really fun to be in this space and be able to do big projects like that because it's very creatively fulfilling. And for
Yeah.
me, that's what I love doing in VTubing. That's why I I refuse to be burnt out because I'm having too much fun doing all the things that I can't do in my career right now. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what's so wonderful about it. But yeah, I thank you so much for the kind words about the Fallout project.
No, of
That has been
course.
in the works. And we got Bethesda, is so kind and very enthusiastic about the pitch that
Yeah.
we sent them.
I mean,
And
how was it working with, such a big company? I mean, I know I have experience outside of VTubing. I work in marketing specifically for video
sure,
games, so
sure.
it would be interesting to hear kind of your, you know the step by step from reaching out to them, being like, hey, I have this cool idea, like what
Mhm.
was it like building a pitch deck for Bethesda, and what, you know were there any like roadblocks or anything that they were like, hey, maybe not do this, or something like that? I'd love to hear more about the process. I love geeking out about that stuff.
Well, there's this concept in the commercial industry. There's a thing called a spec commercial.
Mhm.
And so what spec commercials are, I don't know if you're aware of this. I also don't
Yeah.
want to take over your knowledge or anything. But spec commercials are basically what directors will do sometimes is that they will do a a fake ad for
Yeah.
something, right? But it's within the same tone of a company that they would like to work with. For instance,
Gotcha.
let's say, I don't know, Marvel is coming out with a new action figure, and you're like, I want to work in toys, but specifically, I would love to work with Marvel.
Hmm.
So what they do is they pull together the resources, they shoot a commercial, and they try to make it look as if it was an official like Marvel commercial,
Yeah.
right? Trying to make it look as yummy as possible to this company. They do it, they bring it to the company, and they're like, hey, here's what I'm capable of doing as a director. And then the company can be like, they could either be like, wow, that's amazing, we'd love to work with you, let's like, or they could either be like, this is awful, fuck off. Like it could really go it could really go either way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I did is I did something similar where I approached Bethesda and my business manager and I put together a pitch deck where basically I was like, here is my idea. I love this franchise so much. And I
Hmm.
was like, here is an idea in terms of what I want to do with the IP of Fallout. And for me, this is something that I've really kind of am slowly really coming, how do you say, not coming to terms to, but I've
Yeah, like
loved doing
breaking
so
out of
much.
your shell, kind of.
Yeah, breaking out of my shell, it's more like um you're talking about marketing, right? Like you have this
Sure.
background. Want to work with companies and provide an immersive experience that is a
Hmm.
bridge between the people who are interested in whatever IP that they're in, that they're passionate
Yeah.
about, work with a company so that financially it works out, and
Mm.
bring it all together so that I'm able to help, you know, market things for
Yeah.
companies in the way that makes sense for me as Ms. Lala 1950s, Dino Waitress,
Yeah.
um to the people, to like to my community or and beyond, right? So
Hmm.
that's what I basically pitched to them. I was like, okay, I know that you have influencers and people you've worked with that do, posts about products and things like that. But what if we provided an immersive experience for viewers?
Yeah.
They play their video game, and you know that you're playing with a video game, and you have an NPC that you talk to, and they have coding that, that prompts certain responses or whatever it is. But what if you provided an experience with a person that is guiding them through the game that they love so much, is interactive, talking to them, and is totally immersed in the world in which they're
Yeah.
video
Wow.
game. And so, that was my pitch, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, fuck yeah,
That's
we're totally on
awesome.
board." Yeah, so
Yeah. It's
that
you really put into the effort as opposed to being like, "Hey, I want to do this collaboration with you." More like, "Hey, I have this product that is an immersive experience that is centered
Mhm,
around your title, and I want
mhm,
to have the permissions and have your blessing to handle your IP." So it's
mhm,
super interesting. That's such a fascinating way to pitch that. That's so
mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, I did I what I've learned in my years of being in the business is that when you're doing something for a company, and this is just advice for anybody who's like interested in working for like sponsorships or whatever it is, you p sometimes you have one chance. You have one chance to impress somebody, and it could and it goes from the email that you write or the message you introduce yourself to the pitch deck that you send. And whenever I work on things, so in my line of work, I'll do mood boards that showcase like my
Hmm.
design point of view or whatever. And it's a very malleable thing, right? Because you can, that's what I love about art in general. Like things can change during the process that can be even better and more exciting. Whatever it is, you get other
Sure.
people. It's very collaborative. And so, but it's something like this, I want to basically present something. Oh my God, excuse me. Oh my God. Am I gonna hold on, hold on, hold
Bless you.
Sorry. I apologize. Sorry. Sound goosey. I came down with a cold because I've been pushing myself a little bit, so I'm a little under the weather.
Yeah.
Um, um, but I present it the way I like to present my stuff is I want it to be so good that you're gonna have such a hard time saying no to it. And that's literally what I do. Making sure that everything is really perfect in that presentation.
Hmm.
Because sometimes you only have one shot. You don't get to be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I wish I could have tweaked this for the future." It's
Sure.
like, I'm going to make this the best that I can make this because I want them to say yes, yes, yes. And so, that's kind of the headspace I went into this where I'm like, there is no reason. This makes so much sense. It's the same thing that if 2K Games came out with a brand new BioShock game, I'd be like, "Hey, hey,
Hello.
hey, 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 hey,
Would
you
you
should
like a
you
rapture?
yeah, would you like a rapture? Would you like a rapture? Let me give you a rapture. Let me tell you, I look so cute, all drugged up with a little, like, electric blue thing coming out of my arm. Don't you worry, I could really pull it off. Oh my god. Also, or maybe little sister vibe. We could do little sister vibe. We could do that. We can kinda ruminate. We can, like, figure that out. But, yeah, that's basically kinda how that worked, and they were very kind and supportive. There isn't a new Fallout game, so, but there's obviously the show, and
Yeah.
so it's been really cool to kind of, to do this and see, like, the really positive response to it being
Yeah.
hype of the new show. I think they just published a report that, like, the game within the past few days have, like the sales of the game shot up 40% because all the
Oh
Finnish
yeah, I
people are
mean,
playing all the
they
titles.
were super clever with it. I think all of
Yeah.
the titles, if not a lot of them. I know 76 was on sale. You know, when
Mm-hmm.
Fallout came out, they probably had a huge like company-wide sale on Fallout stuff. But
Yeah.
like even so, me and my girlfriend watched the first episode. We're only one episode in, but I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean, wow, that what a faithful first episode. I don't know if you want to, you know,
Yeah.
blab about it for a little bit, but I was so fascinated by the attention to detail that that first episode had. Like, you know, just seeing the Pit Boys and the vault suits and like even like everything down to like the health stems and all of that stuff. It's so cool to see it realized in a TV show that hopefully, I mean, by the end of episode 1, I don't know how much you have watched by this point, but by the end of episode 1 really hooks you in with, you know, multiple like storylines. You know, you've got vault dwellers, ghouls, brotherhood stuff, all of that stuff. Just I was really interested to see there's multiple perspectives and seeing how those perspectives are gonna cross over as the series like continues. um
I'm I'm on the last episode currently,
mhm,
and what I love, I feel like there's been so many. How do I say this? Um, I feel like the Fallout show is a beautiful, beautiful example of when you have someone who is incredibly passionate about
mhm,
IP that it was based on, but is paired with the objective uh taste
mhm.
um of a filmmaker and
Yeah.
understand what makes a good story.
Mhm,
Because I feel like in the past, like sometime, like what made The Last of Us so beautifully successful. The game itself is so immersive and so
yeah.
wonderful, but the story in that game is so fantastic. But you really need like but the third episode, I think, in Last of Us, they introduced like a new plot,
Mhm,
like a new story of these side characters that you meet and are introduced to. And that was because, they're like, you need to hear these other stories within this universe because, there's all, what happened in this world has affected so many different people.
mhm.
And that is a choice that was made in terms of enriching the story for consumption via television.
Yeah.
There is a lot of people when you translate something from like a video game to a movie, a book to a movie,
Yeah.
sometimes a movie to a musical, that people are like, "Oh, well, I can't believe they didn't include X, Y, and Z or whatever."
Yeah.
And you have to remember something that works in a video game may not work as a medium on screen as a television or film. Like
Mhm.
they're different artistic mediums in the same way for a book or whatever. And I feel like the Fallout show has done such an amazing job of
Yeah.
incorporating all the things you love about the game, and like in terms of like storytelling and of course all the wonderful Easter eggs and things like,
Mhm.
but also enriching the story that we're already in love with by making it, I don't know, by providing like these characters that are complex. And one of the many questions that games like BioShock or Fallout show is that, you know it it really questions the humanity of people when they're put in extreme situations, and
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
so fascinating to analyze, and they do such a great job in the show. And so it's really exciting to see because that's a wonderful example, another fabulous like video game adaptation into a
Oh
series.
yeah.
I'm a,
We've been getting very lucky recently, you know.
yeah,
We've
we don't talk
had
about the Borderlands movie, but yes, absolutely, very lucky,
or
very
the
lucky.
or the
Yes.
Halo show.
Halo. Oh my god, I love that song by Beyonce. Oh my god, I love that song by Beyonce. She's a fabulous singer. Absolutely. Halo TV show? I don't know her.
Is there a bucket list? Like, do you have a game or, you know, something you want to see adapted into a TV show or movie? Like, is there, you know, BioShock is one that comes to mind. Like, is there anything else you kind of want to see that you're like,
Ooh.
oh, this would be perfect for like a TV show or a movie?
Definitely BioShock, but there that is actually in development on
Yes.
Netflix.
Yeah.
So it was put on pause last year because of the strike, but they're back to writing it. So I'm very curious, though. I'm very curious because here's the thing: it's all depends. It's I have a lot of trepidation because you got to know who's behind the project. Who are
Right.
the people who are making the critical decisions in terms of what brings this to life? The person who is behind the Fallout show is Jonathan Nolan. He
Yeah.
did Westworld, which is a
Okay. Yeah.
fantastic show. And so
I've not seen it, but I have heard great
oh, it's
things. Yeah.
very good. It's very good. But yeah, so you know that the artistic integrity, the storytelling ability, the good direction, it's all there.
It's
Like that's
yeah.
what I don't know in terms of in terms of the Bioshock show. I'm a little nervous, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
You know,
it's interesting because it's like having the like a lot of these shows and movies have the original creators involved, and how much they are involved is very dependent on if the show is going to be good or not. But I mean, let's say if Ken Levine, creator of Bioshock, does get on some involvement in that show, I hope it's enough that he can make executive decisions, but not enough. Game makers are not filmmakers, so it's
yes,
like
exactly.
you want to have that balance where he doesn't have all creative control, but he has enough pull to be like, okay, don't do that, I don't like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Kind
yeah.
of thing. So
Yeah, I'm very curious about that. But yeah, BioShock is definitely one that I think is such a cinematic world that it definitely should be adapted. Um,
I'd like to see a Dishonored show or movie.
ooh, Dishonored. I could see that. I could see that.
you know
Yeah,
they
I
have.
haven't played it, but I'm very familiar with the game and like the aesthetic and the art and the design.
Yeah, I think it
It's
could be
very
interesting. I mean, like having like a espionage superpowery kind of dark fantasy.
mhm.
I don't know. I thought I think that that franchise is one that needs to come back in some shape or form.
Yeah, yeah. I think like definitely artistically it would be
Yeah.
very very yummy to see and I think that's very exciting. I obviously the film and television industry, they're running out of superhero movies to do. So the next area that they got their eyes set on is the video
Video
game
games, yeah.
industry, especially after the crazy success of Last of Us. I that's all I'm hearing. I'm hearing that that's what people they're looking for video game IP specifically to try and do narrative shows and features about
Yeah.
because of that specific success. So who knows what's coming down the pipeline? I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm. It's weird because even the adaptations that were on the more mediocre side, I tend to enjoy for other. I think for different reasons. For example, one of them is like Uncharted. Uncharted had a movie. Um, I feel after watching, I've only seen it once, but after watching Uncharted, I came out of that movie like pretty satisfied. I was like, this is a good movie. Now, is it a good Uncharted movie? I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they maybe gave it like another chance to be like, oh, here's a sequel where Nathan Drake's a bit older and he's going, into all of these adventures. I think I don't know if have you played Uncharted or any of the Uncharted
Mm,
games?
I haven't, but
Um,
I'm very it's like a how do you say? It's like a Indiana Jones type of thing, right?
yeah,
A
it's
little bit?
very it's very you've got this quippy adventurer who's a know-it-all and a like a smart ass kind of thing. So it's I definitely recommend if you can somehow figure out how to play them because they're kind of hard. You have the Nathan Drake collection on PlayStation, which kind of has all of them. I think on PC they only have one of the spin-off games and they have Uncharted 4, but like
Ooh.
the original trilogy or the original 4 games are like so good.
Oh
They're
yeah,
made by Naughty Dog, so it's the
Naughty
same,
Dog.
same.
Where's my Crash Bandicoot movie?
I
Where's my
know.
Crash Bandicoot movie? That's what I'm asking. We're talking about IPs. Where's my Crash Bandicoot movie? Yeah. And then I want to see mango products everywhere. Mango products everywhere. Plushies, drinks, food collaborations.
TNT crates.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I want to. Yeah. Where's my Crash
Bring
Bandicoot?
back Crash Bandicoot. They I love the Crash games. I'm so sad to hear what Crash Team Rumble didn't really do anything. That was their kind of game that they shut down recently, but I hope they go back because they did have such a positive reception to Crash 4, right? I don't know if you played Crash 4, but
Mhm.
um that was a nice like after years we're like Crash is finally back. Like he's had a great game.
Mhm.
Um did you play a lot of like mascot platformers like in the PS2 kind of era? Like Jack and
Oh,
Daxter, Ratchet and
oh,
Clank.
my dear young child. I was around when NES first landed on the market.
uh
This is terrible. Ah, I'm not that old, I promise. Oh god. Oh god, every time I mention that, I feel like my wrinkles really sit in, and I'm very vain. I can't handle that. I gotta live in families for as long as possible. I yes, I loved playing Crash, I loved playing Spyro, I
yeah.
loved when I was younger, I loved playing, like, mascot platformers. That was
Yeah.
definitely like, when I was younger, the 2 those were my 2 game categories. I did JRPGs and I did, mascot platformers. Those were, like
Mm.
and then now as a grown-up woman and a grown-up I I play primarily like, I love playing open world games, and then, like,
Sure.
my old lady settles in, and I like playing Magic the Gathering. I like playing tabletop card
Oh yeah. Yeah,
games.
Magic is I have like dabbled in Magic, you know, younger.
Mhm.
I collect decks. I remember like trying to learn the whole thing about like different you've got your water deck and your fire deck and all of this stuff. But they recently I found out through you they actually had a Fallout crossover as
Yep,
well, right?
yep, they sure did.
So cool.
Yeah, I look forward to when it's called Fortnite the Gathering because, like, they've been collaborating with so many different IPs recently that you can have a deck that has Doctor Who, Fallout, who else they got? They got, Assassin's Creed, we're
Oh
gonna have
wow.
Cloud Strife, and then you're gonna have what is it? And then you're gonna have Thanos. Like, you're gonna have all these different characters in a single deck, and you're like, "I'm ready to bring up my multiverse deck."
It's
You know,
so
it's
it's so Fortnite. It's so
it's so
Fortnite.
Fortnite, and they actually did, like, a collab with Fortnite on their Secret
Oh
Lair
my
stuff. So
goodness.
there so I do love Magic, because I don't know, it's relaxing. It's like, I
Has
don't
there
know.
been has there been people members of your community who have gotten into Magic because of you, or like I always think about that whenever you introduce something to your community.
Mhm.
um there's always going to be, especially as you grow as a streamer, there's always going to be some sort of actual influence, being an influencer. Like
Mhm.
you'd play a game and you get a message being like, oh my god, like thanks to you I now own 3 Magic decks, kind of thing. Have
Yes.
you come across that for Magic, or is it something that want to continue to introduce to your community?
Yeah, let me get
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sickness.
hello? Wizards? Can you hear me, wizards? Wizards? Hello? I want you to hear this, okay? You hear me? Hire me. Okay. So just getting that out of the way. Hire me. Hire me. Okay. So yes, definitely. There's definitely been a like even like some of my VTuber friends who play tabletop card games. I met them by playing Yu-Gi-Oh. I've converted them to the Church of Magic. I'm very proud of that. Very proud of that conversion. Consider me like what is it? Like a missionary for Magic the
Yeah, an
Gathering.
ambassador.
Send me into send me to different communities. I will show you the light. Because it's white mana. And but I will yeah, I've had people like play Arena, which is the online client and it's free to download and it is a really great introduction for people to play Magic. So I always encourage people to check it out. A few people have definitely come back and said that they started playing because of that. I've had people who haven't touched Magic in like 10 years, 15 years, and then they're like, "You play Magic? I forgot how I like this game." And then they'll come back a couple of weeks later and they're like, "I have a deck. What have you done to me?" I was like, "You cannot I don't wanna see no bills hanging out in my email being like, Miss Lala, you owe me my month's rent because I spent it all on cardboard. That's a personal problem, honey. Learn how to budget better." So, I but I definitely have had people who have come into the diner who are like, "Oh my god, I'm back into Magic," or I started looking into other tabletop card games because you're so enthusiastic about it, and this
Yeah.
and that. And so I'm like, "Yeah, I love seeing that though," because when I first started playing Magic on stream, I was much smaller. My CCV was like 5 people,
Sure.
and like nobody wanted to like watch Magic. Everybody was like, you know, they were like, uh, "What is this? This is not entertaining." I was like, "Magic is
Yeah.
entertaining?" They're like, "No."
What do you mean?
I was like, "What do you mean?" And, then somebody in my community who ended up becoming a mod was like, "You should try out Yu-Gi-Oh! Because a lot of VTubers play Yu-Gi-Oh! And it'd be a
Mm.
nice way for you to, like, meet other people and then you can share if you like tabletop card games." So I was like, "Okay, sure. Why not?" So then I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And then I started getting into that, and I did that for a while,
Mhm.
but I still didn't love it as much as I love Magic. And,
Gotcha, yeah.
Magic has been in my life since, oh my god, I think I started playing in 2008,
Mhm.
2009, and then I took like a 10-year break and then I came back to it in 2. But it's been great. I thoroughly enjoy it. I do sincerely would love to like be an ambassador for Wizards, like
Mhm.
specifically for Magic the Gathering because I do love the game. I find a lot of joy in playing it. Um and I love sharing with people that game. It's also a way for me to play with the community. Every Monday
Sure.
I tend to do it. Sometimes I'll switch it up, but usually every Monday is Magic Mondays in the diner, and so I'll play on Arena, and we'll also go over new sets, new cards. I'll play with community members. We just kind of hang out and talk.
It's
And
so cool because having an event like that just normally is like, oh, that's cool, but the fact that it's like tied to the whole diner persona is like you can just picture like people like coming in, ordering some food, bringing out their decks and being like, all right, let's battle, let's talk at friends and just hang out. I think it's just so cool to have
yeah, I'm like,
that.
"Here you go. Here's some wet naps for your fingers. You don't wanna get and no ketchup on your cards. I don't care if you double sleeve them. That's not an impenetrable barrier." Yeah, I know plenty of people who said they double sleeved, and they still ended up with kids. So please tell me I don't know a thing or 2 about that. So so yeah,
Uh,
I agree. I think it's fun. I call it my fantasy bridge. Like, I'm an old lady in a retirement home. I'm not gonna be playing bridge. I'm gonna be playing Magic, and I'm gonna be counter spelling, you know, my husband. We'll both be like on Metamucil wearing adult diapers with our walkers. Like, I counter spell your dragons. Yeah, definitely be me. So I like that feature for me.
uh, That's awesome. I mean, yeah, apart from Magic, what other stuff have you been playing recently? Like, what's your aside from Fallout now, you've started New Vegas, I believe.
Yes.
What games do you either are you looking forward to, or do you always see yourself coming back to recently?
Mm, I definitely Fallout obviously is a friend of my mind. I'm going to be playing 76 for the first time this
Oh,
week.
awesome.
I'm
Yeah,
playing
the
Vegas.
show has made me want to re-download 76 and try it.
That's
Like,
good. That means that they did their job. Their
yeah, they
marketing is
got me.
working. Yeah. I will say apparently, and I look forward to exploring it this week because when 76 first launched, so many people were like, "This is awful. This
Yeah, they
game
had
is
like
garbage."
17 major updates since launch. Like
It's
it's
had
it's a
incredible
completely
updates.
different,
It's a
yeah.
totally different game. So that's why I'm really excited to check it out this week.
I'm
And
very excited. If you ever do
yeah,
any multiplayer stuff, count me in. I'll try and
yeah,
run a character as well, cuz
yeah.
that
I
sounds so much fun.
I love the idea of being able to traverse the wasteland and do whatever you're doing with friends. I think that's
Yeah.
fabulous. I think that's so exciting. So I'm very excited to try that out. I'm going with big open eyes and
Yeah.
totally open to whatever it is.
Optimistic, yeah.
Yeah, if people were telling me Fallout New Vegas is their favorite and the best Fallout game that ever existed, and I powered through 9 hours of stream yesterday, despite the many glitches and bugs and the crash that happened, and still had a great time, then believe me, I'm
You
very
can
excited
handle
for
76.
I can totally handle 76. If that you know what I mean? If they're gonna be like, "Oh, it's buggy," I was like, "Oh, please. Of course it's buggy. Have you seen the size of the rad roaches? Of course it's buggy." So but yeah, Fallout is definitely at the front of my mind. Magic
Hmm,
is always. I love, I was we were talking about this before stream. I wanna pick BioShock 2 back up,
sure.
um, that I can do that. That would have been another game that I would have totally done, like, an immersive thing with, is,
Yeah.
like, BioShock. I totally would have done that.
I can imagine the diner being like Rapture, like underwater. Or
Mhm.
even if you go with the infinite route of being,
In the
like
sky.
yeah, in the sky.
Mhm.
It's so cool.
Yeah, yeah, there's so many ways to do it. Ah, I love it. I truly love BioShock. It's such a great game. I happily replay it. I just replayed it in the fall for the first time since I first played it when it came out, and God, it's so good. Anyway, I'm
It's
not gonna
great.
sit here.
No, no, I'd love to talk about it because it's fresh in my brain too. Like I just so as I mentioned before the call, I just played through the entire franchise. I started BioShock 1 end of last year. We did BioShock 2 this year and we did Infinite this year, and Infinite was so refreshing. I enjoyed the first two. I thought they were great in their own ways. I think I might prefer BioShock 2 to BioShock 1, but
Mhm.
um Infinite was just, in a whole nother world in terms of like storytelling, characters, just the like the whole vibe of it's kind of futuristic but also like past, like you got that 19 whatever 60s aesthetic to it.
Mhm.
um and the ending was just mind blowing. Like I
I
can't
think
believe that a game that came out in 2013, 11 years ago, I have never been spoiled on. As someone who's so clued into the industry and so clued into video games, I have never heard of the ending of Infinite, and I'm so glad I didn't because the payoff is
Mhm.
so amazing.
Yes, I think that's what's so amazing. I that's what I BioShock is such a testament in terms of cinematic storytelling. Like from the first game all the way through the end. It's so fabulous. And I love that it was one of the first examples of how to use the mechanic of playing a video game and tie it into the story. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I just finished playing Undertale recently, and
Mhm.
they do something similar for one of the routes, the not so happy route, and they do
Genocide.
something. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Where like it's like it's forcing you to ask questions as a player in terms of like what your actions are in a video game as a video gamer, and I think
Yeah.
that's so cool. I love that. It's so different, and it just expands like the ability, just the storytelling capabilities, and they tied it in this very neat narrative package in terms of like just what was going on in the world within the time period, and it's just fabulous. I love BioShock. I have so much I have like all these prints and stuff in my apartment. I love
That's
the game.
awesome.
Um but yeah, I BioShock is definitely on my mind. What are some other games that I've been hooked on or wanting to play? Oh, I'm gonna be playing Deltarune in May.
Oh,
What's
cool.
another that I wanna that I recently downloaded? Oh, I recently got a VR headset, so I want to
Oh,
play.
awesome.
I want to, and the first thing I want to do is like, I try Alien Isolation in VR because I'm very much an atheist. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
are you a fan of horror?
uh,
I think that answers my question. The
okay,
hesitation.
okay. I have a love-hate relationship with horror. I love it because, of course, they're usually so much fun to play because your adrenaline is up and it's very the experience, the physical experience of playing a horror game is truly unlike any other. I personally think horror games are scarier than horror movies because you are
You're
And it's
in the
they're like, "You're
situation.
in it."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine, that's fine." I didn't need to, I definitely had to make use of these adult diapers while I played this game. That's fine. That's okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah, yeah. Uh, 'cause you shit yourself, you get so scared.
Oh my
I,
goodness.
I but I also I don't like how scary they are, but at the same time, they listen, I think it's so cool. I think horror games are fun. I do like games that aren't like I will say I'm not into things that are necessarily just like gory or anything,
Sure.
and that's the factor. Like I'm not
There
someone
has
who's
to be a
into like
purpose.
porn. There has to be a purpose. Yeah. I'm not into like that's the same thing with movies. Like I don't like horror movies that are just about like the torture scenes. Like I like
Sure.
the first Saw because the first Saw was saying something, but then by Saw, what is it, 72, whatever the
There's so
levels there
many.
are,
I think there's
that
10, but also like
yeah.
maybe 2 or 3 spin-offs. Yeah.
Yeah, so by that time, I'm like, okay, we got the message, we got it. Okay, there's a lot of stuff happening, but I I I tend to like horror movies that usually have that are usually like saying something more beyond just
Right.
like the supernatural thing or something like that that's going right. It's usually an allegory, a metaphor for something else, right? So
Yeah.
Babadook is a great example. You
Yeah.
know, Hereditary is great. You know, these are wonderful,
Yeah. So I mean,
horrifying.
with me with horror, it's crazy because like I've always I love horror. Like I love horror movies, I love horror games, but they've never like my community hates when I play them because I never get scared. Even though I love horror games, I love getting immersed in them. I don't know, maybe I just watched so much horror when I was younger, but it's never like phased me. Like I've never like been like, oh, I like scream at something, but still I can still love the genre. And I
Mm.
do still play horror games and watch horror movies. Hereditary is the one movie that has irked me, and it's just one specific scene, which is the scene where the teenager gets home after that scene
Mhm.
happens and just goes to
Yeah.
bed, and I'm like, that scene is the only instance of any horror movie or horror game that's actually made me go like, ooh. That's it. Like that's the one scene, and for that reason I think Hereditary is my favorite horror movie. I think it's
It's
such a
so, so
unique
good.
experience.
Yeah,
um,
exactly. I think that's the perfect way to put it. It's a unique experience. Like I
yeah.
saw it in a very full movie theater, and I remember like that whole segment, like the first 20 minutes of the movie, you're like,
People crying.
and it's like it's very comforting to know that you're not the only one who's like, "Oh my god. Oh my god. Ooh." I think
Just
that's also the fun
yeah.
thing about watching a horror movie in
In
theaters. It's like
theaters,
it's such
seeing
an
other people's
experience.
reactions.
It's so fun. It's so fun. It is really a good time watching a horror movie in theaters. I do thoroughly like that. Or there's certain movies that there's something really fun about that part of the theater experience. I know that a lot of people watch movies at home, but I'm
I
very much a movie
agree.
theater kid. I love going to the movies. It's one of my
Especially, I mean, especially with something like Marvel or Star Wars or anything that has a dedicated base. I remember going to see Infinity War and Endgame. Like they had a double
Mm,
feature. It was like a 6 hour
yeah.
showcase, and just seeing like fans reacting to. I mean, you've probably seen those like viral clips of
Mhm.
like people reacting to certain Endgame scenes, or just like the ambience you get. And you never expect that to be in your theater, but when I saw Endgame, that was like people were freaking out, and I really love that atmosphere. I think it's
Yeah.
awesome. And just
Yeah.
the whole process of going to the theater, like the smell, like the snacks. It's
Yeah.
you say what you want about the prices these days, but like just the experience I think is worth it to be like, yeah, I watched a movie that I could have watched at home, but I feel like there's just something to be said about the experience. And it was so sad when like COVID hit and all the theaters closed, and I'm like, I want to watch movies in this like ambience with people. But yeah, I agree with you with the with the vibes of the
Yeah.
movie theaters.
I can also say that as someone who works behind the scenes in film, that when you spend the time to create an image and detail, you're always aiming for that theater experience. And
Hmm.
so it's also, you know, when you put the amount of effort into the artistry that is your craft in whatever
Yeah.
department it is on a film, you don't necessarily just want it to be appreciated by watching on your fucking Apple Watch. You know what I mean? Like, so so it definitely is like,
Your
you know
Samsung smart fridge.
yes, watching Dunkirk on my Samsung smart fridge exactly as Nolan intended. Yes, definitely. That's why he did that movie. Absolutely. Yeah.
He even chose the special 15 millimeter lens just for
For the
optimal
fridge,
viewing.
for the optimal viewing on your fucking fridge. Yeah, exactly. It's so, but I think that's also what I like about going to the theater. You just see the scale and you feel the scale of and it's important to the experience, you know?
Yeah.
There are certain people who really craft a film around the fact that you'll be sitting in a theater to see it. I mean,
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, was in IMAX theaters, and Nolan is
Yes.
the king of filming on IMAX and 65 millimeter film,
Oh,
and
nice.
he is, he does those things to be appreciated in that scale to make you feel so immersed. And as
Yeah.
someone who's a history nerd as him, that it's to appreciate all the details, all the nuance, every single choice that is in a frame. I don't know.
Mhm.
I can wax poetic about movies. I
No,
think they
yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the last movie I saw in theaters was Godzilla minus one,
Oh my god, I
and
love
it
Godzilla
was
Minus One.
incredible. I was,
Yes.
as someone,
Thank
so
you.
I never had experience with Godzilla. I knew the character and I knew kind of the world with like Mothra and some of that, but no, I never watched any of the movies. And Godzilla minus one was such a tonal shift for the
Yeah.
franchise that I could be like, wow, like that was stunning. It was such a cool, because they really made Godzilla minus one a movie about the people as opposed to about Godzilla, and even more specific than that, they made it about one person and their kind of experience through such a calamity, catastrophic event like that. I
Yes.
thought it was so stunning. I don't know
It was a
about.
World War II movie that just happened to have a big giant incident.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, that's definitely, like, the characterization of that film. It wasn't you're not going to that movie because it's a Godzilla movie. Like,
yeah,
it's a movie that really is talking about the trauma, the confliction of, like, your personal identity versus nationalism. So many
yeah.
incredible things in that film. And then on top of that, they're like, "Oh, and then by the way,
Also, this guy.
we have this guy." But also, it what is so amazing is that Godzilla, right? The Godzilla is the result of the atomic bombings that were done in Japan, right? And
Yes.
so Godzilla as a creature itself is the embodiment of the guilt and choices of war. That's what that lizard,
Yeah.
and I think the movie really
So
also showcases
cool.
that so great. Yeah, that's what makes it so compelling. That's what makes it so compelling.
I
It's not just
yeah.
about this, like, cool kaiju movie, which we love. We love
We
cool
love
kaiju
we
movies.
love that.
I love
Beat a
Pacific
beat up
Rim.
beat up a
That's
big ape.
yeah, yeah. Listen, I love kaiju movies, but I think exactly what you're saying, that it was so refreshing, that it was something that was so different for this specific genre of film, and then they
Mhm.
gave it its own life and personality, and it really, like, got to you
It was a
emotionally.
roller coaster. Like, it was
Yeah.
like there was no moment in that movie where you weren't like
Mhm.
where it wasn't tugging at your heartstrings. It was like
Yeah,
so many highs and so many lows. It was
yeah.
truly incredible.
Yeah, I love that movie. It was a great movie. Yeah, yeah. Enjoy.
How is it, what's your opinion on like 4D movie theater stuff, like where you have
Like,
the
with the moving chairs
moving
and, like, they
seats and
spit on
like,
you? You have
yeah,
somebody who, like, comes up to your chair and, like, spits in your
and one
face?
guy who goes
Yeah,
around.
yeah, he, like, hacks Loogie, it's an interrogation scene, and they're like, "You scum of the earth, tell us where the code is."
Wait, pause the
And then,
movie. I need to go over to
and
aisle,
yeah,
5C.
exactly. Then this whole lineup of ushers just comes in front of your seat, and then the Haxaloogium spits on your face. Yeah, the 4D experience truly incredible, unlike any other.
Have you ever experienced them, or what's your opinion on them?
Oh god, I did one like a long time ago. I think I was like a kid when I did it, and it was
Okay.
fun as a kid. I think as
Yeah.
an adult, I feel like I don't need that. I feel
Yeah.
like everything else is it does enough for me where I don't need like to be in a roller coaster seat unless it's a
Yeah.
roller coaster movie point of view thing. But
It's
um
interesting. So the last time
yeah.
I saw one, I think it was for the movie Free Guy. Um
Oh yes.
and it was interesting because it's an action movie, right? So you have like, if there's a high intensity car chase or something, there's like wind blowing at your seat and stuff like that, and it's cool. The thing that threw me off, and I don't think I'll ever go back to a 4D movie theater, especially now, the modern tech for them are getting kind of crazy, was every fight scene you were getting like kicked in the back. I was like,
Yeah.
this is such a surreal experience. It's like you could feel like every like impact of these fights, and I was like, whoa. And then I was like, oh wait, I don't know if I like this. It's like so distracting if you're trying to watch a movie, you know.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I think it's a gimmick that you can try. I don't think I'd watch every movie if like, because there's also not a lot of movies that offer that, right? Like I can't remember any movie since Free Guy being like, hey, we have 4D, go watch
Yeah, yeah,
Sonic the Hedgehog in 4D.
yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, watch Sweeney Todd in 4D. Don't worry. Make sure to send the people in your family you don't really like for the true 4D. Yeah. We have our own barbers and definitely try the meat pies, like definitely 4D experience.
Oh
um
man.
but yeah, I haven't tried those, but it does sound like it'd be really intense as an experience. But maybe I don't know, maybe I should give it a try. I haven't done it in a while. I'm
Yeah, I
totally
mean,
someone who's
I think it's something that you can try once and then be like, okay, I'm good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, listen, I'm the kind of person who's like nothing beats a failure but a try. I'm always willing to try something once and
Sure.
to at least determine if I like it or not. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it'd be yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe Sweeney
um
Todd and 4D is actually an incredibly riveting experience, and who
uh,
knows?
we have a question on Twitter
Yeah.
from Mama Crested. Questions for Miss Lala. Well, I'll go one by one because there's two questions here.
Yeah.
First one we could dive into a little bit more because I also wanted to hear how this went. But is it difficult to run a charity stream? Now you recently had a big charity stream. Do you want to kind of go over what that was for and how it went? And I'd love to hear more about that because that was a big event. Like
It was.
that must have had a lot of work put into it.
Yeah, I very foolishly thought it was a very good idea to work on both the Fallout and the charity events at the same
At the
time.
same time.
They basically had 2 weeks in between these two launches, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I
Oh my
definitely did lose
goodness.
my mind during the process.
I don't
Uh,
envy your sleep schedule at all.
yeah, I was totally yeah. I had these two big projects that I was doing, and it was quite the undertaking. If but that's just how it ended up going schedule wise.
Mhm.
Um, doing a charity stream can be as complicated or as simple as you would like it to be. That's the truth of it. Just like anything in VTubing, it could be
Yeah.
as bombastic and grandiose as you want it
There's
to
like
be,
a
or it can be as
scale.
simple. Of course, yes, of course, of course. You can decide. You can let your community know at any point. You're like, hey, I want to do a charity stream. I'd like to raise a certain amount of money, and you have to be realistic, obviously, with your goals in terms of what you think you can do,
Mhm.
and um in terms of like you base it on like the your reach and things like that. This wasn't my first charity stream.
Yeah.
I'd done one before and my goal was to raise $500, and we
Okay.
raised $250, but then we had that matched by somebody at the charity that I was working with.
Oh,
So we ended up
awesome.
technically hitting the $500 goal. But within this team, we raised $250, right? Which
Yeah.
that was amazing. We raised $250.
Mhm.
And um for this stream, we raised $11,625. Big difference in terms of that, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wanna make sure that, you wanna choose. Is it difficult? I think you just like any project, you just need to make sure that you are planning. You know,
Mhm.
if you wanna do something simple, that's fine. You just you but even if it's simple, it's good to have some level of planning. If
Yeah.
you want something that's bigger, it's gonna require then that much more planning. And
Sure.
so, my main mod on my channel, her name's Samahat, that's her
Mhm.
username. She is my close friend of over, oh God, 15 years,
Mm.
friends for a very long time. And she helps me a lot with some of the things that goes on in the diner.
Yeah.
And I approached her and I was like, so, th- oh, oop, okay, I thought I was gonna sneeze. Um, I was like, oop. So you want to choose something you're passionate about and or something that you have a personal tie to. I think that's probably the best. You can do a charity for whatever you want. It's
Sure.
just easier if you're trying to raise money and create incentives and you're going to have to fulfill milestone goals to do it for something that you're incredibly passionate about
Exactly.
and know things about. And
Yeah.
there's so many different causes in this world, and it's fabulous that everybody has their own cause that they're able to put that energy forward towards, because
Mhm.
that means that there's so many causes then that are able to get the help that they need.
Yeah.
For me, I focus on endometriosis because I have endometriosis and adenomyosis,
Mhm.
which is a disease that affects the uterus. And um, I had surgery a couple years ago that kind of put me out for 6 months. It was
Yeah.
very intense surgery, and my life changed knowing what I had and what my
Mm.
steps forward were. And in February, endometriosis means that uh, instead of getting into like the nitty gritty of what it is, which I can, but on layman's terms, it means you usually have excruciating, debilitating amounts of pain when you have your
Mm.
period. Sex is usually incredibly painful,
Mhm.
and um, you can experience bloating. And the tissue, so it's endometrial tissue that is supposed to be within your uterus, grows outside of your uterus, and it can attach to
Mm.
other organs too. And so there are people who have had to have like massive, massive surgeries and multiple surgeries, because it's not like, oh, you take out, unless you take out and have a full hysterectomy,
Yeah.
w- this is something that affects your life and it only gets worse with age.
Mhm.
So, in February, I ended up in the ER because
Yeah.
I had a very bad endometriosis flare up. And I was in so much pain, I didn't even know what it was. I thought that I was having an appendicitis attack, essentially,
Wow.
which is what
Yeah.
it was. Wasn't an appendicitis attack, thank God. It was just my endometriosis flare up. And I had then gotten an email afterwards, and I was just like, God, this like sucks. Just like this is, I just had a really bad day where I was like, this is
Yeah.
awful. This is the rest of my life. I mean, I've been struggling with this thing, and then it's gotten really bad basically within the past 5 years.
Mhm.
And I um I was like, this is awful. I don't know what to do about this. And I got an email actually from my insurance that was like, did you know that March is endometriosis awareness month? And I was like, oh, that's
Huh.
interesting. Oh, that's kind of serendipitous considering I just came out of the ER. And I saw this notification come through, and I was like, oh, it might be nice to do something. But I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous because that means that I'm really putting something that is incredibly personal
Sure.
about me out there into the world. And I've talked about it a little bit with my community.
Yeah.
Um, but it would be the focus. And I was a little nervous about that and I wasn't sure. And um I was like, well, maybe I should, you know, maybe I should think about that. And
Mhm.
um, you know, I was actually very inspired by the work Iron Mouse has done for the IDF for the
Yeah.
immunodeficiency fund, and uh, I was like, well, maybe it's time that I do something, and this is a very appropriate time. Very
Mm-hmm.
short turnaround. But we'll see. Um, and I was like, I would love to, if I do this, what would be the best way to do this? It's not going to be me just like playing video games for 12 hours. I would love to
Sure.
raise awareness for this. And I'd love to bring people on to talk about their experiences having endometriosis or if they've had an arduous journey within their women's health, because
Yeah.
uh, there's another condition called PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. That is usually, it's not endometriosis, but they're put within the same camp a lot of the time because the symptoms are
Sure.
very similar. They deal with all this stuff. So I was like, I'd love to bring on people who have, who have uteruses, who have dealt with this problem, or people who understand what it is to battle life with some sort of invisible illness, but
Mm-hmm.
is still able to have a great time. And that was the main focus in terms of that. And
Yeah.
so, you want to talk about a swing, because you're like, oh my God, I'm taking a swing by reaching out to me. And I was like, oh, for me, oh my God, that's so sweet. Thank you so much. I did the same thing. I was like, I felt the same exact way. I
Oh
DM'd
my
I
goodness. Yeah.
and I was like, I want to do this charity stream, and I would love to have you on board, but it's okay. I totally understand. You're very busy lady. Doing a
Yeah.
million things. Yeah, of course, you don't need to blah blah blah. And she responded very enthusiastically, and
That's awesome.
and then I brought on Gabi Lynn, who's another fabulous VTuber. She had PCOS, and then I
Yes.
had Aki Faye, who has endometriosis, and so we had these three wonderful guests. And we also heard from other VTubers within the space who have endometriosis. They shared their stories,
Mm.
and uh, and uh, it was great. But basically, what happened is that when I went to the ER, I basically that was like right after Valentine's Day in
Right.
February. So I was like, okay, this gives me a month to put this together.
Mm-hmm.
So, a month to put together a thing where you want to communicate with people, arrange schedules, you want to make sure you have an itinerary that's good. If there's any assets you want, if you're
Yeah.
communicating with parties, it's very short turnaround time. And so that's why I say to the person who is asking, in terms of, is it difficult to do a charity stream? It all comes down to how complicated you want it to be. Now,
Yeah.
knowing that Iron Mouse had said yes, I wanted it to be, um, I definitely wanted to be, uh, I wanted to push it to the highest quality that I could do given the time that I
Yeah.
had.
Sure.
Um, and but also I wanted to have it. I wanted to be a very positive, uplifting thing. I didn't want it to be a 12-hour lecture stream where everybody's just sad. It's just
Sure.
like, well, don't like, let like who I am as a person. Like I'm someone who I live with this thing all the time. I
Mm.
just finished having a bad flare up this week.
Oh my
And
goodness.
like I was totally, I do stream, and then I'm like, what you don't see is that, I look like, what's her name? Officer Kusanagi, whatever the hell her name is from Ghost in the Shell. I got like 17 cables plugged into my body. I got like,
Oh man.
pads and like, things that are vibrating to like help like soothe my
Sure. Yeah.
abdomen.
Wow.
Incredibly bloated. I was like, oh no, but don't worry about it.
No
Ha ha ha.
biggie.
Dynamite. Hey, like but
how
uh
how how was it? How was it to hear all of those, people who sent in their experiences or even experiences from other VTubers? Like that must have been amazing to be like, wow, I this event actually like inspired myself. I'm sure in some way, like
I
for you.
yeah, I definitely was like, um I definitely was very moved.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that response.
Mm-hmm.
I when you do a charity stream, it's because, I was personally motivated to do this thing because it's something that I'm
Sure.
affected by. And I didn't expect the amount of people who reach out to me to be
Hmm.
like, even people who don't, there's, men who DM'd me being like, my sister has endometriosis and I've
Mm.
watched her go through this, and a lot, and thank you for like raising awareness. And there's other people in the space who reach out to me being like, yeah, I have it. I've had this very difficult journey in terms of getting the help that I needed, and I'm very I was very moved by a lot of those stories.
Hmm.
Um and it also was very cathartic at the same time because it makes you feel a little less alone. And I think
Sure.
that's the thing that's like very common for people who suffer from like invisible illness and disease, is
Yeah.
that it can be a very frustrating, lonely experience because you
Hmm.
you are battling those things. People may play it off because they can't see it, they don't understand it.
Yeah.
And I think uh I think that was something that I didn't expect. I mean, obviously the money we raised was incredible. I did not expect us to raise that amount. That's why I put certain goals there. I was like,
Yeah.
they're never they're never gonna get
I
this
saw
sticky
how it
patch
was like it
Lego.
was like it
They're
was
not
like
gonna do it.
0 to 5K, and you're like, haha, all of the goals I want to do. And then it's like stretch goal 10K, and you're like, I'm just gonna have it there, I'm just gonna put it there,
Literally.
whatever. And then just blast
They
through it.
they blasted through. That was so crazy. I thought that maybe we'd be lucky if we got like, I was like, okay, maybe we do like 3,000. That'd be
Hmm.
cool. That literally was, I was like, it'd be cool if we raised like $3,000. That'd be really
Yeah.
neat. Um, if not, that's really cool. Like my baseline goal is like, I hope we hit 1,500.
Sure.
But my dream goal would be like if we can double that and we hit 3,000.
3K. Yeah.
I knew that was such a big stretch goal because remember, I'd only done one charity stream before and we raised $250 one time. So I was like, okay, we're not I'm not gonna, I just don't think it's possible. And
Mhm.
then I was so amazed. I was so floored. And um the one thing that I haven't talked about a lot is that, I didn't just set up the campaign on Tiltify. You can just do that for your charity stream. You can just raise money on Tiltify.
Sure.
I like to do, I like to do personal face-to-face like connection with the people
Yeah.
that I'm working. So I had a liaison from the Endometriosis Foundation,
Oh wow.
and they were so helpful. But then it was not only him, but there was another associate who was watching the stream. And I talked about that one of my dreams is to be a mother. I really have always wanted to be a mom.
Hmm.
And having endometriosis makes that road very difficult.
Sure.
And uh I haven't even shared this with I haven't even like publicly shared this. I shared it with like my close friend. I shared it with my husband.
Yeah.
Um but the one of the liaisons after the stream reached out to me and she said that she could help connect me with some of their doctors,
Oh
which is amazing
wow. That's
for something
yeah.
like that. Sorry.
No, no, no. That's
It's like
awesome.
really it's
That's
really cool because, in terms of getting like fertility treatment or any kind of help that I need, that I have a resource
it's the
because of
fact that
this.
you have that
Literally,
available because yeah, that's
literally
awesome. Oh,
because you
wow.
do this charity thing and like that like
Yeah.
if it's something that you're affected by, like that's literally proof in the pudding in terms of how like doing
Hmm.
something can help you or change your
Oh my
life or
goodness.
get
Yeah.
things there. And to know that literally like that's so much money to raise, that's like so much money to raise for a cause. I never thought I'd be able to do that, and that was
Yeah.
really,
That's
and it means a lot.
awesome.
Yeah, so that
It
it was very emotional. That was a very
yeah, I can imagine. It's like it's
emotional day, an emotional few days. It was very good, and every
oh
time I
my
talk about it,
goodness.
I get very I
Yeah,
get,
it's like a karma thing, right? Where it's like you got something so valuable out of just
mm,
an event that you hosted out of the kindness of your heart. So
mhm.
it's such a yeah, that's so nice to hear. Oh my goodness. Like
Yeah,
I'm glad you have that connection.
we're gonna be doing another charity stream in June, but this
Hmm.
time, we're doing it for the Sato Project, which is
Okay.
for homeless dogs in Puerto Rico. It's the organization I did my first charity stream for,
Oh
and I love
wow.
them. we've had Sato dogs in my family, and that's
Ah,
another cause that I'm very personally attached to. And so I look forward to doing that in June. And for that, who knows? In terms of goals or whatever. But for me, I thoroughly was so moved by the entire experience doing that charity stream that I
yeah,
definitely make it, as long as I'm within this space and, there's people who like, me talking on the internet through a
yeah,
1950s cartoon character or whatever it is, I'm going to use, I think at least once every year. I definitely think I want to do a charity stream. I think I may just do the endometriosis foundation every year definitively because it means so
sure.
much.
That's
Um
awesome.
but yeah, so yeah, I mean, um if you I encourage people, if they want to do something like that, definitely consider it. And like I said, it could be as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. For
Yeah.
me, it was a fun opportunity. It was a very safe, positive opportunity for me to talk
Hmm.
about something very personal,
Yeah.
and I got to share that experience with some amazing women.
Hmm.
And um and I got to connect with people in a much more intimate way that I don't know, I didn't expect to. So it was very,
Hmm.
very, for the person who asked about charity streams,
Yeah.
yeah, it could be as simple as complicated, but I highly encourage you to look into doing something for something that you're passionate about, because $5 for an organization means that's $5 they didn't have yesterday, and that is incredibly
Exactly.
helpful. Don't think that just, I was floored that I was able to raise $250 for the Sato project back in
Yeah.
2022. So I'm very, to think that I'm able to do what I did is spectacular. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely looking into more charity stuff for sure. I mean, I've done the only one I have done was I believe it was Gamers Outreach.
Oh yes,
Which
yes.
was such a nice experience. I think we raised like yeah, similar to your first one, like 150 or something. But
That's
just
great.
having that be like, wow, the fact that my community raised like anything for these guys, like it was so nice. I think it was for their like they had a VTuber summer bash kind of thing
Yes.
a while ago, and yeah, it was nice to kind of be like to just be part of that and get to know their story and what they do for kids in hospitals. It's super nice.
Yeah. I um I love that I saw people who are doing that, and I had a friend who did it, and she actually spoke about that there was somebody else who like tried to make it a competition. And it's so sad that some people may want to turn like a charitable cause into a competition.
Yeah.
Just, it doesn't matter how much you raise. The fact that you raise any kind of money for an altruistic cause is
Exactly.
fabulous.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter the amount of money, you know. I and I think that's really important, because you're not using that, charities. When you do charity stuff, it's all about something else. It's not about you. You're
Yeah, it's
using
not
just
about
your
you. Yeah.
trying to shine light on a cause. You're trying to just bring awareness with your community and
Hmm.
try to amplify, supporting people who are in need. And I think that's what should be, obviously the center of that. And I
Yeah.
think that's fabulous. $150, that's wonderful. That's great.
Yeah. I definitely
Yeah,
want to kind
cool.
of, look more into it. And, of course, I will probably go with Outreach again, but also
Yeah.
want to research into, other um charities. I self-diagnosed but still want to look into it. I seem to have a pretty positive opinion that I have ADHD,
Mhm.
and of course stuff like that, especially when it comes to mental health, can take a long time to get a proper diagnosis. But even
Mhm.
getting to that, to that point, um I'd love to help some sort of like organization that helps people with, kids with ADHD, or just something related to that, because I know
Absolutely.
how hard it is, like on a day-to-day basis, to be like, oh, is there something wrong with me, or is it actually like just in my imagination kind of thing.
Yes.
Because it
I
can really, like, I feel like it can really affect, for me it was always like me being like, oh, I'm just lazy, or even my parents would be like, oh, it's just, you need to get out more, you're just lazy, kind of lazy, or something like that. But as I went from, school life to like professional working life, there was stuff that was happening that I'm like, well, this isn't normal. Like the fact that I can't focus in this situation, or the fact that I'm not grasping this as fast as someone else, I think there's something that has to be looked into here. Um, so I'm very much on that road, but it's kind of a catch 22 when you feel like you have ADHD, because you want to look into it, but then it's like, well, the whole thing about ADHD is, you plan to do something, and then a lot of the time it's like it gets forgotten about, or it gets pushed off or something. So I need to make a conscious effort to be like, okay, let me start this process somehow. And I mean, especially growing up in the UK and in Ireland, mental health over there is very much not pushed to the side, but it's like, if you want to get diagnosed for like ADHD or any mental health stuff, it's like years on a wait list. It's like what do you do in that situation? Do you find, like, for me, I found alternate methods that don't include medication. Stuff like journaling really helps me.
Mhm.
A bunch of like to-do lists and tasks and stuff like that. The real problem is when I lose my journal. I'm like,
Yeah, well, that's your
oh.
anchor, that's your root. Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
where do I go from here if I can't do that?
Mhm.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
I'd love to kind of look more into that, and
That's
try to
wonderful.
have a cause to kind of um angle towards.
Yes,
Um,
that's great. I feel like you see, like I feel like it's easier to fight for something that you know firsthand. Not saying that you can't, you could do a charity for whatever you want,
yeah, of
for sure.
course.
Like,
Yeah.
of course. Oh my God. Of course.
Please do.
But yeah, please do, as a matter of fact, do whatever you want. But I feel like it's so much easier to identify something is that you're comfortable about talking about if you
Yeah,
have that connection to it.
sure.
Um, but also that yeah, that you have this like personal experience for it, because then
Mm-hmm.
especially because the people who are that you're trying to help, the people that you're raising awareness to, the
Mm-hmm.
people who are tuning into your stream, they're probably the people who love hanging out with you to begin with. And so
Yeah,
knowing that the cause that you're raising money for is something that you live with and you struggle with, I think that that's something that it's very easy to have to rally around something like that, you know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
So I think that's very admirable. That's very admirable that you want to do that and you're starting
Mm-hmm.
to look into that. And I wish you the best on your journey. It
Thank
can be
you.
very frustrating, of course, of
Yeah.
course. I didn't get diagnosed until 2020, after living on this planet for like 3 decades. It's finally, oh, that makes a lot, and you have to unpack that. It's a lot. And
Yeah.
um so yeah, I think, I love that you specifically were saying for kids, because I feel like, so much, I mean, I it's probably different now, but when I was growing up, they just had a very like very, uh oh, that boy is hyperactive. Oh,
Yeah.
that girl, blah, blah, blah,
Dismissive
blah, blah.
nature.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very dismissive. And now there's so much more information around. And
Yeah.
so I think it's really great to like, yeah, to help prevent the suffering of people. It's very, yeah, that's very
Hmm.
noble of you. Yeah. Mm.
Are there any big plans in the making for you? What is the rest of 2024 hold for Miss Lala?
I'm graduating tomorrow. That's it. It was a
No.
pleasure. Bye. Oh my God. I love being a big, I dropped a big one on the community. Toodaloo. Bye bye. I have, yeah, I listen, I'm on the road. So My goal in this space is I really would love to be a full-time VTuber.
Of course,
Not
yeah, of
fully full-time yet. I definitely still have I still focus on my day career, which has been
course.
great, but the life that I've been yearning for definitely more aligns with doing work as a VTuber.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we have some exciting things. Like in June, well, next month in May, I celebrate 2 years being a
Oh
VTuber.
wow, congrats.
Thank you. I'm very excited to celebrate that. This time last year, I had, well, I don't know, 950 followers on
Yeah,
Twitch.
wow.
And so that's really nice to think about that so much can happen in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
That was before I debuted this classy chassis. I presented to you today. Um, but so we're gonna be hanging out, celebrating that next month.
Mm-hmm.
Then in June, right? Because yes, and then there's Off Kai. I'll be going to Off Kai
Yeah.
in May, which is fun. And then in June, I will be doing the charity stream for the Sato Project.
Mm-hmm.
July, maybe there'll be a new look in the diner, maybe.
Ooh.
July, July, that might be something.
Yeah.
Then in August would be 1 year being partner on Twitch.
You really have you have the
Literally
month.
everything.
It's month by
Literally,
month.
September is my birthday, and I'm doing an uncapped
Oh.
one.
Wow. When do you sleep?
What? I don't need sleep. And
Here,
then
you can use the rest of this show to get some shot.
I have my next 5 years planned down to the food I eat and when I take a shit. I have it planned down to a T. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I basically have the rest of the year pretty much mapped
It's
out.
awesome.
Which is great because it keeps me, like I told you before, I'm very project oriented. That's
Sure.
how I like to plan my things. Um, so having a goal every month to work towards is very exciting. And I'm working really hard to try and make that dream come true because having that dream come true gives me one step closer to being on the financial level needed to be where I feel comfortable to pursue baby making. But, in terms of being a road to being a mom,
Mm,
that's ultimately what my big goals are, like, my
yeah.
goal my goal in this space isn't necessarily to be, like, a number 1 VTuber. My goal in this space is to provide really fun, immersive experiences for people, connect with people, and make enough money where I can, live comfortably
Mm-hmm.
for me and my husband and hopefully being able to be a mom. That's, like those are my goals in this space. There's,
Yeah.
uh, all anything else in terms of numbers or things like that, those are all ancillary in
Yeah.
terms of the overall goal in terms of what I'm trying to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
And um and so I'm constantly in awe in terms of like growth and things like that, but I don't try to get hung up on
Sure.
and I know I may come from a privileged place of saying that because I've had very good growth. I fully acknowledge that, but I try to because if I start getting really hung up in terms of certain numbers, I don't want to I don't want to become my own worst enemy, and I already struggle with
Yeah.
imposter syndrome the way it is.
Exactly.
So so that's kind of why I'm like, okay, what is my focus? And that's what I use as my north star, as I like to say. Like what keeps on guiding me towards my goals. And
Right.
and it's not the amount of Twitch followers I have. It's like it's not, it's like, oh, it's am I reaching out to sponsors or am I getting the sponsorships I need, to
Yeah.
be able to
Being
do that? I'm starting that
proactive,
being proactive. Yeah, you have
fostering, a healthy and inclusive community. All of this
yeah.
stuff that isn't numbers focused, but also is tied to growth.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's important. It's
Hmm.
not like I wake up every day and I was like, the algorithm is like this. I'm like, I don't know. I really am of the mind that I throw enough spaghetti at the wall, something's gotta stick.
Yeah.
Like that's really how I do. Sometimes
Yeah.
I post something on Twitter and it does fabulously. Other times there's like two people who see it. One of those
Oh man,
people,
it's
you know.
I've been posting. So I do a lot of covers and music stuff.
Mhm.
I'm trying to kind of be more proactive with releasing covers and maybe even an original song or something. But my goodness, does the shorts platforms hate me? I mean, I did a cover of, I don't know if you've heard of Epic the musical, the TikTok, um
No.
this guy on TikTok is making he's pretty much making concept albums for this musical retelling of the Odyssey, like the Greek.
Ooh, I
So
love Greek
yeah,
mythology.
so
Woo!
it's called Epic the musical. It's got 3 or 4 sagas out right now on Spotify, and it's like the story is told through the songs, and stuff like that. So it's a story of like Odysseus, like going, like trying to go back to his family and meeting people like Circe and like Hermes and all of these people. Um,
Ooh, how fun.
and for like one guy to make these like proper musical, like you should hear some of these songs. They're incredible. But I covered one recently, and I posted on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, this cover's great. I'm like, this is so good. And I look onto YouTube this morning, like 18 hours after I posted it, it's like 12 views. I'm
Yeah.
like, come on, shorts platform, you got to do something.
So yeah, it's frustrating, and I think that's where it is very frustrating, and I feel
Hmm.
like it uh you know I I feel like because I've had 10 years of an industry that has been like, I don't know, it's been full of a lot of disappointment and a lot of frustrating
Sure.
things and like kind of things. Entering the YouTube space, entering the VTuber space and having to deal with like YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or
Yeah.
any of these things, and I'm like, well, that didn't do good. That's fine. Moving
Yeah.
on.
Oh
It's
well.
like I've
Yeah.
been so traumatized, in terms of, my, kind of thing. But I do get that because, like, I know within the past year I've had a lot of growth, but I had a whole year of being in this space where I had, like
Yeah.
I said, CCV was like 5. I had 5
Mm.
CCV. I had a very small community. I had a PNG tuber.
Yeah.
I tried shorts with a PNG tuber. I tried throwing my stuff out there. I was on Twitter, trying to connect.
Hmm.
Trying to figure it out because it's not like, I was never really like a big social media person in general. I only started
Yeah.
really diving into it when I started VTubing.
Hmm.
Um, and it is frustrating. You're like, okay, I did this edit. This edit is like, this is a great edit, and nobody cares.
Like
Nobody cares.
hyping yourself up. You're like, yeah, I did so good. And then it's like, okay.
But here's the thing: you have to remind yourself. It doesn't take away the goodness of that work,
That's
even if
true.
the algorithm doesn't reward it.
Yeah.
That's something that you have to remember because
Yeah.
you question yourself time and time again whether or not the work that you're doing is even worth it or if it's
Mhm.
valid. And that work is very valid if you
Yeah.
put, if you deliver quality things, just because the algorithm doesn't pick it up because it's interested in, a dog licking its balls and that being viral at the moment, whatever the hell it is. Uh it doesn't take away the fact that you also should celebrate the discipline that you did to
Hmm.
work on something, to put something out there, and to allow yourself to be vulnerable to put yourself out there
Yeah.
because that that will reward you eventually. You know, um,
It's
I
crazy how you say like putting yourself out there. Like um I have been like like singing like all my life. Like I from the age of like 5, I was like entering like my small town talent shows and all of that stuff. And from the age of like 10, I went to like music lessons. I was doing piano and vocal training, but then eventually dropped the piano and just went full into like vocals. So I went through all of the grades, grade 1 through 8 or whatever. I think from grade 6 you had to stop singing in English and had to start singing in Latin and German, and like it's all opera stuff, and it was intense. So I did that like all through my childhood, and then in high school I was just like, oh, while I'm busy with school and stuff like that, and like singing kind of took like a back seat. And it wasn't until really I started VTubing that I was like, well, now I feel like I have I'm seeing all this culture about like V singers and like VTubers who sing and release music, and it really motivated me to be like, well, now I have this outlet. Like I don't really have an excuse to be like, well, I don't want to release anything online because I don't know, like maybe I don't like how I look in this video or how I sound in this video, but I feel like the having a persona and having like a barrier to be like, oh, it makes sense for some, like for a VTuber to release music. Like not all VTubers need to release music, but it makes sense when a VTuber does release music. So it's like it really gave me the opportunity to be like, okay, I can, maybe not an original song yet, but I can make covers. And it just recently this year, or towards the end of last year, I started learning how to actually mix my vocals because I don't want to keep paying for mixing. So
Yes.
I'm like, okay, let me try and learn how to do this. But it's been so
Mhm.
wonderful to like just release music and going back to the thing, it might not get a ton of views, but um the product's out there and it will always be out there, and it makes me happy to go to my YouTube or go to my Twitter and see all of these like either short covers or fully produced covers, just having them there, and it's a good feeling. It's like, okay, I'm glad I have this outlet to express that part of me that I thought was lost to time for,
Yeah.
to say. Yeah, so I think it's
Yeah.
it's nice.
I think that's wonderful. I think, but it's like you said, look, you taught yourself a new skill. Like those are all things to celebrate. You know what I mean? Like even
Mhm.
if the eyes didn't, even if you didn't like get the eyes on it initially,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that it won't eventually. That's the great thing about YouTube. But but also you learn, you're teaching yourself a new set of skills, and that only makes you a better artist.
Mhm.
You're revisiting something that you thoroughly enjoyed. And I agree, being a VTuber allows you so much creative freedom in terms of what you can or cannot do, because there is something really comfortable about the separation of having like an avatar representation of yourself.
Mhm.
It kind of people aren't going to be evaluating, how your face contorts when you're singing a thing. They're going to be like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, you're a hot anime character. Yeah, sing your song, honey. Let's go. Yeah." You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I feel like that's nice, so you can focus on like the thing that brings you joy, which is
Yeah.
singing. It's a very emotional art, and
Oh,
I
it
think
is.
that's
Yeah.
great. It's
Especially when you're
fabulous.
you're 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 dipping into the musical theater stuff. Like
Oh my god, of course. Oh,
that's
that's
a lot of like you see a lot of VTubers who do like the popular either Japanese music or stuff like that. But I don't see a lot of VTubers doing musical theater. Like I've done like Dear Evan Hansen stuff. I've done like I
Oh my
mentioned, just
god!
the
Oh my
the
god, you're a
epic.
musical theater nut? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god,
I
oh my god,
wish,
oh my
like, I wish I
god.
I had the opportunity to do some musical theater growing up, but um, yeah, I'd love to kind of like, I don't know, I've always had this, even recently, especially when it comes to VTubing, I'd love to like somehow get into the like voice acting slash not just like
Mhm.
voice acting into animation, but also like more so like voice acting where there's opportunity for singing. Like Hazbin Hotel was something I recently watched that was like so mind-blowing. Like Steven Universe, like any of the Disney stuff, like I would love, like if there's one thing on a bucket list, it's like I want to voice a character that gets to sing a song in a cartoon or a
I
video game
love
or something.
You be the cartoon. You be the cartoon. You do
That's
it.
true.
That's the thing that's so great about it. Like we are like you can make that I mean, I understand what you mean in terms of being cast in a show, and
Sure.
that is amazing, and I think that's amazing. But I also think that that's the great thing about what we do. You can
Yeah,
make that
we have
happen,
that.
like
Yeah,
on your
it may take
you
time and it
can
may take
yeah.
resources and effort, but that
Yes,
avenue is
exactly.
open for us now. It's really
Exactly.
interesting.
Exactly. Like I love musical theater. That was I too have taken the drug of the musical theater. I love musical theater. I cut my teeth. I When I first started doing costuming, I worked on Broadway underneath a designer. I was the assistant
Yeah.
costume designer. And um I I love I love musical theater. Oh, Gambit does too. And I don't know if you can hear him in the background. Um, but uh I yes, I agree. I feel like there are popular song covers, but I live for my musical theater covers so much. I want to do some so badly. I definitely have. But I was in like chorus as a kid. I don't consider myself naturally a singer by any means.
Sure.
Like, I don't know. I'm like Lin Manuel Miranda. I speak with style. You know what I mean? What beat? Maybe that's more my style. Yeah, like I'm just, I know the capabilities of my vocal cords. Okay, they're good. Okay, talking to people lovingly and also yelling.
Yeah.
So in terms of my singing capabilities, a little limited, but doesn't mean that I'm not gonna try. Might as well. What the heck? What's gonna happen? It's gonna be bad. Might as well try. I think you like to try not to try, and instead of wondering what if I did it and I didn't do it.
Yeah.
So,
Is there a
mm,
do you have a favorite musical? Like what are your favorites?
Dad,
The
Dad,
Waitress?
I can't believe I've never seen it, and it's in I
I mean, neither.
entirely.
A lot of the majority of like my favorite musical theater shows I've not seen. I've just heard the soundtrack.
Yeah, I'm such a I'm because I'm like old like because I'm from New York and I grew up like being able to go to shows and stuff. I had this
Yeah.
like I created this own personal rule that if I didn't see the show, I didn't want to hear the soundtrack before I saw it. 'Cause I didn't want it to impact my opinion of what
Of
I was about.
course.
That's like usually what it would be from, right?
Especially
I
like with the way musical theater songs tell the story. You know,
well,
you're essentially hearing the entire story through the songs for the most part.
exactly. The show that I broke that rule for the very first time was Hamilton. That was the first show I
Okay. Yeah.
for. And, oh my god, and that was it didn't change, like, seeing it in person and then, like, oh my god, it's such an incredible show. But, my favorite musical, I have a not classic answer,
Okay.
and then I have a classic answer, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
Yeah.
My not classic answer is my favorite musicals In the Heights.
Okay,
Uh,
yeah. Oh, so
and
again, another thing I haven't seen, but I've heard the soundtrack.
yeah,
Um,
it's so good.
like
It's
the
so
song
good.
"Breathe." Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
I get so emotional. It's so good.
Oh
Listen,
god.
my mom worked in Washington Heights. She worked at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. You're like,
Yeah.
we're like, I'm Puerto Rican from New York. I resonated with so many themes in
That's
that
yeah,
song,
that's
in
amazing.
that show. I resonated with a lot of themes in that song in particular because at the time I was dealing with a lot of troubles in college.
Yeah.
And so it has this like just this emotional weight to it, and I just
Mhm.
love that show so much. And that's definitely up there. And then ooh, classic musical wise, like I can't believe I'm such a stereotype. Like the other one that I know like all the lyrics to, there's a couple, but West Side Story. I was like, of course, a
Okay.
Puerto Rican like the modern Puerto Rican story and the vintage Puerto Rican story. Ah, surprise, surprise. Uh, but I love West Side Story.
Yeah.
I um, but I tend, like Hairspray. I love
Mhm.
Roger the Hammerstein Cinderella.
Yeah.
Singing in the Rain is my favorite movie musical, like classic movie musical.
Mhm.
Uh, oh my god, Chicago is great. The movie adaptation was oh my god, I can talk
Yeah.
musicals for hours. I love
Sister
musicals.
Act.
Oh my god, are you kidding me? I fucking love oh my god, I was just watching oh my god, okay, wait. I was just watching this, like, Broad City episode where they make an like, they allude to Sister Act 2 because they have,
Mm.
like, "Joyful, joyful, da, bum, bum, bum." They're, like, singing that song, and they're, like, in the '90s garb, and it's crazy, and then, like, Whoopi Goldberg made a cameo in the episode. But I love that. Oh my god, it's such a great
It
movie.
really
I
is.
love it. Oh my god, this song when they when they singing in the church and then the community starts like filtering in because they're like really jazzing up all these songs, for Jesus. And then, they're like, I love like the meek woman, the meek nun who like has a powerful voice. Oh my god, I love
Yeah. Oh my
that. It's so
goodness.
good. Oh my god, I
Yeah.
love such a it's so good. It's so good. It's so
The
good.
great
Oh,
one.
I can't. Yes, yes, I love it. Oh my god, I'm gonna rewatch it
For
right
me,
now.
um, for me, I think in terms of modern, definitely, I think Dear Evan Hansen is phenomenal. I think it's so just the way the songs are written. I really like how Ben Platt originally sang all of the songs. Be More Chill is also really cool. I don't know if you've heard of that, but
I
it's
haven't.
about like it's like like a teen school
Uh-huh.
musical where like being popular is like tied to this like chip or this like drug or something that like kids take, and they go from being like losers to like being like crazy popular, and it's like kind of dealing with the like topic of like your like someone's identity and like what it is to be popular or what it is to be yourself. It's super cool. It's got a very almost like synthy. It's a mix between like 80s synthy and like modern like high school stuff.
Ooh.
It's pretty cool. It's got a lot of stuff like
Good.
that.
Very cool.
Classic, I don't know. I mean, Wicked is
Ah,
like
love,
the
love,
very the
love.
standout one. I really
Mm.
like The Lion King as well, but I think I
So
think in
good.
terms of maybe movie more than like musical.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm a big Disney. I'm a huge Disney nerd, so it's like I need
Okay,
to.
Disney movie. What's your top 3 favorite Disney movies if you had
Ah,
to pick?
Lion King is again. I think Lion King's up there.
Yeah.
Um, I really like Big Hero 6.
Oh,
I think Big Hero 6
yeah.
is so great.
Hmm.
And oh, I don't know. It's hard to pick three. I mean,
There's so many good ones, I know. That's
Like
why I always like asking.
Tarzan,
So good.
um, even like Beauty and the Beast. I think has been growing on me more because of like certain songs. Like I always anytime I do karaoke on stream, I always like sing Evermore from Beauty and the Beast, and it's
Oh,
like
yes.
it's so nice.
Mm.
But yeah, I also really like Lilo and Stitch. There's so many to
Oh,
pick from. Like,
I know. That's why I
um,
always like asking. It's always so curious to see what people
I'm
say
sure I'm
that
forgetting
resonates.
one that I'm like, oh my god, how did I forget that one?
It's okay.
What about you though? Do you have any
My
definitives for Disney?
in for Disney, yeah, I would say not including Pixar. Yeah. I love. Bless you. My dog is next to me. He sneezed. Um, he's sneezing just like his mommy. Let's see. I Same thing. I always struggle with. Oh, bless you again, Cambit. Um, I'm trying to. Oh, it's so tough because there's so many different movies for different reasons why I love them.
Yeah.
I love. Uh, I would have to say I. Oh, there's like songs that like. There's soundtracks that I feel like I put on repeat that like make me
Right.
really happy. But overall, as a movie, like the things that left impressions on me. Peter Pan. I had a big Peter Pan phase in my life.
Oh wow, yeah.
Come hanging. Sorry. Uh, um. Peter Pan. I was obsessed. I wanted to read like all the different. I wanted to read all the like. I like bought like 7 different copies of the book, by Dan
Mhm.
Barry, and I was like, I want to make sure I know all the differences. If there's any nuance difference. I was so obsessed. I had a big forever stay young. I can't imagine how that's in any shape, way, or form. Um, Peter Pan for sure. I love um, Princess and the Frog. Tiana's my
Mhm.
favorite Disney princess.
Yeah.
Uh, because I felt when I saw Princess and I was never a princess girl. Like I never grew up and I was like, this is my princess. I never had that. I always loved the animal movies. Um, which Fox and the Hound is up there.
Oh my goodness.
Fox and the Hound is one of my favorites. Big fan of Fox and the Hound. And then I would have to say, yeah, Princess and the Frog. Those would be my 3 because
Mhm.
Tiana's like, uh I have dreams, but I want to actualize them. It's not just like, oh, I wish on a star and then that's it, and then maybe something happens. She's an active participant in
Yeah.
making her dreams a reality. And I was
Hmm.
like, I love that. And also, Naveen is such a great himbo. I love Naveen. He's so fabulous. And Lottie, talk about like what a great best friend. Like I I
Yeah.
love I love Tiana's like philosophy in terms of how she navigates her dreams, but my personality is very much more like Charlotte LeBeouf. Like, I'm like, "Oh my god, let me have some of your man kitchen beignets." Yeah, go ahead. Like that's totally more like me. But I love I those are definitely, I feel like, some of my like top 3 top 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like you mentioned there about like there's so many soundtracks that you like, but
Mm.
like for example, Frozen 2, I think
Oh
as a
yeah.
movie is like okay, like it was enjoyable, but it wasn't like crazy. But the
Mhm.
soundtrack of Frozen 2 is incredible. Like they've got Show Yourself is such a powerful song. I love that song so much. And having like Lost in the Woods be like this, like it feels like an early 2000s boy band hit. Like
Yes.
it's so good.
So good, and
um
the animation for that song is so
I
fun.
feel like I have to like bring it up because it's like
Yeah.
it's so fun to sing. It's like so like happy. It's like it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's so fun. In general, like, yeah, I thought, yeah, the numbers in those movies are good. The Frozen, I loved. I actually, I know that it was so popular. I think people were like sick of it, but I really
Yeah.
actually thoroughly enjoyed Frozen. Frozen's a fabulous movie. It's a
Mhm.
great movie, and the songs in it are great. And but the power ballads, though, the power
Ah.
ballads, and they do that because they're like, we know Adina can do these, so we're gonna do them because she can do them. And you're like, yes, queen, thank you,
Please. Yeah.
yes, please,
I
thank
don't know.
you.
There's something about I think it's specifically musicals, like and anything that is musical like themed in terms of like composition is it just fills you with this like feeling that no other song really does. Like when a musical theater song hits like a powerful note, or like I think it's because there's so much emotion, there's so much
Well,
more emotion in in the songs and in the
yes, of
songwriting
course.
than traditional music.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, there's always that like whoa, like the crescendo of like Waving Through Window, for example, from Dear Evan Hansen is like, oh my goodness. Or Words Fail, even more so, from Dear Evan Hansen, is like such an emotional ballad to like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know, it just imbues this feeling that I'm like, oh my god, you hit that note, no way, like it gets you so
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, well, I think you have, I feel like when it comes to musicals, the songs have a different purpose, right?
Yeah.
You're not just writing a hit, right? The songs are the person that you're following, the character you're following is so overwhelmed with emotion that
Hmm.
there's no other way to express what they're feeling besides by singing. And
Yeah.
so, and those moments a lot of the time are like more personal, like songs. So it's like we're seeing the inner workings of the character,
Hmm.
and it's like you said, it's like this emotional burst
Yeah.
that characters sing these songs in, but also it makes you feel like you understand them so much more intimately. Oh my
Hmm.
god, I love musicals for the same reason, because you can't help but get emotional. Like, oh my god, there's certain song, like when I in the Heights, like there's certain songs that no matter what, end up bawling to. I
Yeah.
can't help it. In the same way that my cousin, my cousin, he's like a dude who's like 6'4", and he's a broad shoulder guy who, like, if he just touches you with his elbow, he'll probably bruise your ribs, right? He's a big dude, and he sobs like uncontrollably the minute that Past the Point of No Return from Phantom of the Opera comes
Uh,
onto his TV screen. He's like, "Past the point of no return." He's like, "Ah! It's so good."
uh,
I just love that. Yeah, I love that musical songs can like really
mhm.
emotionally resonate in such a strong way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh man. Well, I mean, I think we're probably getting ready to wrap up.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, this was so much fun. I'm
Oh
so
yeah.
glad that you took the opportunity to spend some time and
Of
chat. I know
course.
this show isn't very structured, but I kind of like it. It gives it. I feel like it's a little bit more personal, where
Yeah.
I'm not like berating someone with questions, and I kind of just go where the show goes. I mean,
Oh, of course. I love conversational talking. Yeah.
maybe there's some things that I'd like to include in future episodes, but for now it's very much like bringing people I appreciate them and their content on, and sharing that with my community, and just honestly giving me a reason to meet more cool people. So
Yeah,
I
I think that's
appreciate it.
wonderful. Of course. I think that's wonderful. I think that's really, really great. And I thank you so much for having me on and taking the time to and your patience in terms of like getting this all worked out. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course.
And for inviting me. I really I appreciate it. And oh my god, I'm like a moth to a flame. You say musical theater, and I start frothing at the mouth. Like I'll be like, yes, let's talk more. Tell you about how I went to like 6 showings of Spring Awakening because I was a crazy person. Like, please,
Yeah, I'll
please,
for sure
guys.
send you some of that epic stuff.
Yeah, that
I
sounds
recommend it.
fabulous. Mm.
Is there anything you want to promote or shout out while you're here, while we wrap up?
Yeah,
Where
I
people can find you or what you're up to?
sure. I stream on Twitch. My doors are open Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. My Dino doors are open those days. We have a nice overlay of Fallout for the month of April. That'll stay along for any time I do Fallout content in the future. But we're doing lots of Fallout content this month. Um, I'm actually after I take Gambit out for a little walkie walk, I think I might do a spontaneous stream and play some more New Vegas because I'm thoroughly addicted. I did a 9 hour stream yesterday and I'm like scratching my neck trying to go back. Like I've been dying. I was like, I know I'm sick, but maybe I could just mute myself and play the game. I don't know. I'm loving it. I don't know what to say. I can quit at any time. I can quit at any time. I'm fine.
I've been the same with Dragon's Dogma 2. I made the very conscious got the twitching. I made the very conscious decision of like once the game came out, I'm as a variety streamer I like to bounce around games, but I have
Mhm.
very much been like all in on Dragon's Dogma 2 for the past like week and a half, and at any time I'm not playing it, I'm like, I need to explore more. I need to play more, but
Ah, yes, yes. It does sound like you have ADHD. That hyper focus sets in and you can't let go. It won't let me like be Undertale. And like I was like, I'm not playing anything else. I'm only playing Undertale. Bye. It just happens. And you know what? Instead of resisting it, just embrace it. Just embrace it. Mhm,
exactly.
mhm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, once again, thank you so much.
Of
We will
course. Thank
probably
you.
wrap up for today. I mean, I'm always like, do I stream after this or not? But I think it's nice to kind of just have a nice found a quiet episode and call it a night. I can chill for a bit, but I do appreciate it very much. So guys, make sure to follow Miss Lala, of course, and check out her awesome new look for the diner. And yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow for Dragon's Dog. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Dragon's Dogma 2. I hope you all have a wonderful night, and yeah, bye bye.